and I've had the pleasure of working with Dr. Marsetter and Dr. Madriaga on a really interesting project that has been puzzling program directors, we think, for quite some time, which is how do you best use social media to recruit for the next generation of fellows? But before we begin, let's hear from Laura and Hector.
Hi, I'm Laura Morsetter. I'm from the University of Wisconsin in Madison, Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Hector Madriaga. I am a nephrologist at Leahy Hospital and Medical Center in Burlington, Massachusetts. Twitter, it has been a very awesome and important tool in social media, particularly in nephrology in our field. One of the things that we wanted to find out how nephrology training programs are using Twitter to their advantage, particularly to recruit applicants. And we wanted to find out the specific content that nephrology training programs are sharing online. Stop there, and so we can expand later.
Yeah, good.
On that, so.
Tejas,
Awesome.
you were the driver of our data collection, so give us a little more on that part.
Right. So we started in 2018, so pre-pandemic, and started capturing the tweets that various fellowship programs and divisions were publishing throughout the world, actually. So initially, we started out with adult and pediatric programs, domestic and international, and not just general nephrology, but also interventional, transplant nephrology, any particular GN nephrology fellowships that existed. So we tried to expand the breadth of our data set to capture all things related to nephrology from an institutional perspective. So not just fellowship programs, but divisions as well. And then for this project, we wanted to look at US fill rates in fellowship programs. So we narrowed our data set down to just US-based divisions or fellowship programs, and specifically adult nephrology programs. So that took us down to about 33 or 35,000 tweets. And then we started analyzing them. So we did a qualitative and a quantitative analysis. First, we actually had our machine, our algorithms read the tweets and categorize them into one of 5 categories, which you'll see in our poster. And then we tried to link those categories with 2 sets of outcomes. One was an intermediate set of outcomes, which is really how are people engaging with your content on social media? So likes and retweets, and of course, how many followers each tweet is earning your account. And then the hardest outcome, the one that we all are interested in, which is whether the type of tweet that you compose in aggregate, does that affect your probability of filling your program for a particular academic year?
Yeah, great. So when we took this data and we looked at it, we really found that the type of tweet or the content of the tweet did not impact the fill rate. So while medical knowledge and promotion were the 2 categories that really were the highest number of tweets in our cohort, we did not find that those really impacted who filled more often than another program. That was interesting data because we do know from previous work that there is some sort of influence with being on Twitter that does influence your fill rate, but what you tweet doesn't seem to matter as much. And so while we looked at those 5 categories and we were trying to figure out whether or not there was any influence by, gosh, did you add enhancements? Did you add extra things that went along with it? Those things did not impact your fill rate as much as just being on Twitter seemed to do. So while that may seem like a negative study, it does help you realize that what you tweet is not as important as just tweeting in general. And so what do you guys think about that? Is that surprising to you? Was that something that you were surprised about?
Well, I was surprised about. I feel like there's a lot of training programs active on Twitter. But I was hoping that the stuff that they share online should be more influential in recruitment, and in general, it's not actually. So perhaps it's an interesting area of inquiry. Inquiry is exactly what programs should share online to increase recruitment.
And so for me, I actually was not surprised because I felt that the main goal was to identify what to do or what not to do so that the right resources can be brought to bear to accomplish the task and have the desired outcome. So here the desired outcome is to increase your fill rate as much as possible. And it's good to know that if that having a negative study means that you can use your resources however you see fit. And programs that have different levels of resources can now localize and customize the way they approach social media. And I think that to me is one of the best takeaway points from this entire exercise is that there is no set way. You can use your resources however you see fit, whatever is best for your environment and in the constraints that you operate. And you can still hopefully achieve the desired outcome.
Right. And in addition to that, we did not find that there was any more or a higher fill rate in those programs that use more retweets compared to original tweets. So that also can kind of tell you what you need to do with your time. So even if you don't have the time to generate an original tweet, it's probably still impactful to continue to do retweets or be able to be a part of just that conversation on Twitter. And so, you know, that helps to guide us a little bit on who should be the drivers on Twitter. So I know it's really impactful to programs to know how to spend their time. So I guess the question might be, you know, who should be the person to drive Twitter forward? What do you guys think? Should it be the program director? Should it be the coordinator? Who should do this?
Well, I think it should be perhaps should be a multidisciplinary team with different backgrounds. I feel like most of these accounts, and this is just an assumption because we didn't have information who manages these accounts. But you know, the program director should be involved. Perhaps a trainee, faculty members should be involved. I think it should be also important to get feedback from people who are not in the medical field, like an administrative assistants for this. So I don't think that the task should fall into one person for content generated share online.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Hector. I think that each program should look at their own capabilities and determine how best they can operate in Twitter and how frequently they want to tweet. I just think that whatever a program decides to do, and even if they change mid-course, which I think is totally fine because our data seems to support that is also an option for programs. Whatever a program decides to do, in whomever they choose to assign for whatever period of time, the social media responsibilities, just have some type of supervisory system in place so that people can review the content before it gets published. And once you become more familiar with what you want to publish and you have more trust in the individuals who are doing the publishing, of course, that supervisory role can fade into the background.
Yeah, that's really true. You know, I think that there always is this question of where should content come from? Who should it come from? Does it matter? Is it impactful? And that's what we reached out to try to figure out. And finding no difference is not really a negative study in my mind. I think it's more just giving you the freedom to be able to cross boundaries. You don't have to be super fancy. It didn't impact things if you put in a lot of enhancements, links, or pictures. You could just be present. And I think that was the thing that I took away from this more than anything else. One question that came from the coordinators in our ASN communities was whether or not there was resources that you guys think would be helpful for people who are running Twitter. Can you imagine some sort of resource that we could be able to put together for our future Twitter users to be able to do a better job or I guess inform them on what would be impactful?
Well, I think you know, most importantly, faculty members should get onto Twitter. So they can start contributing and see the conversations that are going on and getting ideas from there of interesting stuff that is being shared online and from even from other nephrology training programs. Again, I think if this task falls into a single person, it could be bothersome. So it has to be institutional support as well, perhaps administrative time to administer a Twitter account like this. Any other ideas?
Yeah, I think so. There's a structural challenge, and I think there's a philosophical challenge. I think structurally, there are some programs who just want to know, look, give me a little bit of a roadmap, a bit of a direction and where to go, and I'll take it from there. And I think in that regard, the ASN has a lot of social media related posters and presentations over the years, actually, and quite a bit during the pandemic years that you can just peruse and get some ideas on what direction to go in. So I think if you peruse that catalog, you'll be able to develop a structure that will suit your local needs and constraints. But then I think there's also a philosophical challenge. I think there are lots of individuals who still feel that they have nothing valuable to share online. And why would anybody want to read what they're sharing? And I think that is a little tougher challenge to overcome, but it can be overcome, obviously, because we analyzed about 70 or 80 programs in our data set. So they probably had the same challenge at some point in their Twitter journey as well. There's a lot of value in the information that you're generating, in the discussions that you're having. You'd be surprised how many people want to read and learn from your program's experience. So I think it goes back to Hector, what you were saying, that smaller programs anywhere in the country, if not anywhere in the world, have valuable information to share. All you have to do is share it.
I had a learner once tell me that they learn the content of a program by looking at their website, but they learn about the personality of the program by looking at their Twitter account. And I think that's a really nice way to summarize this, is that you need to be present so people can get to know you as a program, and being able to have everybody together, meaning contributing from every aspect of your faculty, probably does it probably gives you the opportunity to be able to share who your program is in that personality aspect. It shouldn't probably just be one person, but as a group, if you come together and decide what that content structure looks like, look at the retweets, look at what that program is interested in being a part of, that really gives us a chance to be able to get to know the program. And as our disclaimer to this project, we just want to make sure that we also say that we did not measure anything outside of recruitment. And so there are lots of other aspects of Twitter that are probably impacting your program that we aren't looking at all in this study. And so as the future goes forward here, we will consider whether or not we measure other types of things. But
I think, programs should be actively engaged in social media all year round, or do they want to focus only during recruitment season? I think that's one of the other aspects that we need to explore. How are these programs promoting at what particular time of the year, and promote the city as well, the state, the weather, how things are look like, sharing content, how faculty members and residents, fellows, students are rounding. I think it should be throughout the year and not only during recruitment season.
So I would add on to what Hector said and encourage more programs and or faculty and or fellows and or residents to contribute scientific knowledge to the body that's already collected on Twitter. In 2019, we had about 11,300 unique accounts contributing nephrology-related educational content across the world, right? All over the world. And we lost a lot of that because of the pandemic. And it's been a slow restart. And so we're looking to establish bodies of knowledge, that would be programs and divisions, to start back up again so that we can start actively sharing more information the way we used to pre-pandemic. So find useful information, educational information in your program. That should not be difficult at all. And consider that it's valuable enough that someone wants to read it and in a HIPAA compliant, locally proper way, share it, because we definitely want to read it.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun to talk with you guys this morning. Hopefully we can help get Twitter on that restart and be able to influence our next generation of nephrologists.